Hey everyone, what's up? So I wanted to do a quick reaction video on a very famous movie. This one's very popular in sales circles. To be perfectly honest with you, this movie came on my radar when I was back in college, working for Vector Marketing, Cutco Knives, as many of you may be familiar with. And amongst us young salespeople, this was a very, very popular movie to kind of get amped up and into the whole sales mode, in particularly the coffee is for closer scene. And I wanted to kind of revisit it. To be perfectly honest, I totally forgot that it was about real estate. For some reason, I had something different in my mind. I do remember the obsession with leads, which I think is very funny. And so I wanted to take a quick look. In full disclosure, I haven't seen this movie in probably 20 years. And so, first of all, it was surprising to me to find out that it was, in fact, about real estate. And second of all, I really didn't remember too much about the movie. So I did watch it ahead of time just to kind of cut through and see what scenes I wanted to focus on. But you'll be seeing mostly my first pass through where I can kind of really reflect on it. And this will be kind of shot seat in my pants style. I don't have anything planned here whatsoever, so I hope you enjoy it. If you don't mind, as always, please hit that subscribe button. I'll be doing some of these reaction videos to famous movie and TV show scenes as they relate to real estate, as well as all kinds of other content. I have a weekly live broadcast, as well as some other real estate related items. So like and subscribe. Feel free to leave comments in there if you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation. And let's take a look.
Boy, it's rather important. Would you get it for me?
Bunch of bullshit trying to make a living on these deadbeat leaves. I swear to God, Shell, I'm on a sit today. Hello, Mrs. Swoboda. This is Dave Moss. Yeah, we spoke yesterday. Now, on the Rio Rancho estates, we've had a situation just come up. The president of our company is in town just one day, and he has certain parcels.
Doctor.
Yes.
Well, could you get... What do you mean? He's not there. I have to speak to him. Yes, it is fairly urgent. Mr. Levine.
Yeah.
No, I can't be reached. I'll get back to him.
That he has certain parcels, certain choice parcels, which he's given me a hold on for the next 48 hours. Now, what would be the best time to get you and your husband together? Say tonight at 10? Or tomorrow at 8? Okay. Okay, well, what would be the best time to do that? Look, you send in the... No, listen to me now. I've got 48 hours to make you a lot of money. Well, when will he be home? Fine, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. They don't give you the leads, they don't give you the support, they don't give you a dick. Yeah. Then they're yanking us in on some sales conference. When's the last time anyone made a dime on, learned a goddamn thing? All it does is some jerk shoots his mouth off. Yeah. Swear to God, Shell. I got half a mind to go across the street.
Half a mind to go with you, they take me.
Well, you never know. I'm talking to Jerry Graff last week. I gotta call these deadbeats back. Baby, I can't make a goddamn dollar with these leads, and you're killing my ass on the street.
I'm sorry you aren't happy here.
Yes, well, that's very cute, but you're running this office like a bunch of bullshit. You're on an override. You make money, we make money.
I'd like you to make more money.
Then give me a better lead and don't go waste my time. A sales
The
conference?
strategy comes from downtown.
Oh, the strategy? The strategy? Well, I think I'll pass.
I wouldn't.
Why's that?
When you come, then you'll see. Shelley,
John?
you ready to do or die tonight?
Oh, yeah, always ready, John. Always ready, John. Now, one thing. We were talking about the leads. I understand we got some new ones.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about at the meeting.
We are. Because I'm running into a little bit of a snag.
Yes, I've seen your sales figures.
That's the leads, John. You give me a better lead.
That's what we're going to be talking about
Because I'm in
tonight.
a personal bind. You understand? Personal problems. I could use a leg up.
After the meeting.
I hear the new Glengarry leads.
After the meeting, Shell.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about a couple things here. First and foremost, like, this is technically about real estate, but these agents, so to speak, played by Jack Lemmon and Ed Harris, they are really dealing in some sort of investment opportunity type of lead. I would say it's like akin to a timeshare or something like a investment property for the average consumer type of lead. So obviously this isn't really what I do. I don't know how much this model still exists out there. But I want to talk about a couple things as it relates to real estate agents. Because just like the last reaction I did about the South Park episode, is I think this is most interesting to real estate agents. I realize that other people might be watching this, and it's semi-interesting to you, but I think there are a lot of things here that reverberate quite a bit with real estate agents. So first of all, you can see them hitting the phones. They're using pay phones in what looks to be a restaurant or something. There's this Chinese restaurant that they return to a few times throughout the movie, and I believe that's where they are in this case. But they're hitting those phones, which is something as agents we have to do. I mean, that's literally how we keep our business alive. And something that is interesting for me is something that that Jack Lemmon mentions in there. He's like, well, you sent me a card, and I'm just following up with you. We get this all the time as agents, especially those of us who work largely with online advertising through Facebook and Google like I do, is I'm only calling people that contacted me. They have to click on my ad, they have to provide their information, and then they send it off. Now, I realize that a lot of these leads are basically people that were late night browsing and they saw a house in one of my ads. They wanted to know a little something about that house. They reluctantly put their information in there, and then, anywhere from a day to a week later, I contact them and say, hey, John, I saw you reached out via Facebook to look at this house, just following up with you to see if there's anything I can provide as far as information on the house, or learn a little bit more about your home search. And very often these people completely forgot that they did fill this out, and I have to explain that to them. Otherwise, how would I have their phone number or know that they were interested in a particular house, which I referenced in that call? So I can relate to that. As it relates to this situation, I don't know what these mailers are that they're dealing with. And this is a very different side of real estate that, kind of ambiguous throughout the movie, but could potentially be something that is slightly predatory, or they could be bad investments, or kind of pawning off a product, which is obviously not really what I do. I deal in standard residential, maybe a little bit of commercial, and I do deal with investors, but you're talking about fix and flips and buy and holds, and kind of traditional type of investment strategies. These are more of like investment opportunities that may not be the greatest opportunities. That's why I say it seems to be akin to like a timeshare situation. So, but this obsession with leads is a theme that will reverberate throughout this entire movie of Jack Lemmon playing this down on his luck realtor who's had a lot of good runs in the past, but it's the leads. It's not him. It's the leads that are letting him down, and he's constantly chasing these new leads, which we'll learn about a little bit later. The Glengarry, Glen Ross leads that are supposed to be the primo leads, but they can only get the primo leads if they close some of these substandard leads, and this is an ongoing theme. Yeah, I mean, this is for realtors who are struggling. This is a conversation that we have all the time here in the office when I'm coaching fellow agents or hosting masterminds or anything like that. A lot of times we talk about the quality of our leads outside of, our standard sphere leads, our friends and family, that those leads might not be great, but most of all, it's this game of constantly nurturing them. Whereas you see some less experienced agents or more reluctant agents have trouble establishing that nurture and what is required to have a lead actually do business with you. They're going to choose me as a realtor. It takes a lot of work, and it's understandable, because if they found my ad online, they don't know who I am. They don't know if I'm going to be good to work with. They don't know if I'm, a high volume guy. They don't know, what market I'm in. So it takes that nurturing. These guys don't talk about that. So it's interesting because it kind of sounds like the same rebuttal that Jack Lemmon is saying. It's, oh, no, these leads are garbage. These leads are garbage, because he's looking for those leads that he's going to call and be like, oh, I'm glad you called. We want to do this immediately, which is like no leads that are out there. So I like this idea that they keep going. First of all, they show the phone time, which is great, because that is the grind of real estate. It's no one's favorite, I don't think. I think I'm speaking for most realtors when I say it's not our favorite part of the job, but it is literally what is able to, keep us doing what we love doing, which is, practicing real estate. So it's interesting that they're touching on this, and we're going to keep coming back to this. Kevin Spacey plays the office manager here, which is great, because throughout they touch on this theme that he really was never an agent, and he was kind of handed this job, whether or not that perception is true, but that's what the agents are constantly saying to him. And you'll see, I'm not going to touch on that clip, but if you watch this movie, you'll see how it comes back to him getting the upper hand. But I love this idea of the agents holding it against their manager because he's never been in the trenches with them. It's very funny. But this is what the trenches look like in their world. And, it's a variation on what the trenches are like in my world. It's not quite so hustle bustle like is shown in this clip, but it's some variation on that. It's just phone time is hard, especially for an introvert like me. It's not something that I love doing. I do love connecting with people. I love my clients. I love building a lot of relationships, but that initial courting period or nurturing period, as I mentioned earlier, is tough. So, just a few things there to kind of get us kicked off in the tone of the movie and the nature of the real estate, and acknowledging that this isn't exactly residential real estate, but let's move on.
Got a woman in White Plains on the hook. 5 units, Mountain View. What happened? She has to check with a lawyer.
You let her check with a lawyer?
What'd I do?
I don't know.
Sally.
Huh?
Who's the guy?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't like the whole thing, because all I need is a lead. They won't give out.
Uh-huh. The rich get richer. That's the law of the land. Who belongs to the BM?
It is 7:30.
So who is that?
And where's Mr. Roman?
Well, I'm not a leash, so I don't know, do I?
Let me have your attention for a moment. Because you're talking about what? You're talking about bitching about that sale you shot. Some son of a bitch don't want to buy land. Somebody don't want what you're selling. Some broad you're trying to screw, so forth. Let's talk about something important. Are they all here?
All but one.
Well, I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm fucking with you? I am not fucking with you. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy. Your name's Levine?
Yeah.
You call yourself a salesman, you son of a bitch?
I don't gotta listen to this shit.
You certainly don't, pal. Because the good news is you're fired. The bad news is you've got just 1 week to regain your job, starting with tonight. Starting with tonight's sit. Oh, have I got your attention now? Good. Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired. You get the picture? You laughing now? You got leads. Mitch and Murray paid good money. Get their names to sell them. You can't close the leads you're given. You can't close shit. You are shit. Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are going out.
The leads are weak.
The leads are weak. The fucking leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years.
What's your name?
Fuck you. That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name. And your name is you're wanting. And you can't play in the man's game. You can't close them. Then go home and tell your wife your troubles. Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. You hear me, you fucking faggots? A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are, because it's fuck or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ? And action. AIDA. Get out there. You got the prospects coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? A guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you going to take it?
All right, let's take a pause there. All right, so let's talk about a couple things here. I jotted down a couple notes. One thing is, and this is how things are obviously very different than what we do. First of all, I practice in the state of New Jersey, where we are a attorney review state. Every contract that is signed goes straight to the attorneys. It's not a valid contract until either that period has passed, which I believe minimum is 3 days, or could be 5 days. I'm not sure offhand. And essentially what happens is when we send the signed contract, fully executed contract by both parties, we send it to the attorneys. Most of what attorney review is that the attorneys immediately receive it and say this contract is null and void until we have signed off on it and reviewed all the terms. And there's some back and forth there, generally pretty cookie cutter, but if there's any certain things like, floating closing dates or certain house specific concerns, those are addressed as part of attorney review. So I think that's funny because right when they're walking in, he mentions that one of his leads wants to check with their attorney, and he says, "You let her check with her lawyer?" That's very funny because, again, there's clearly something, substandard going on here. I think this is very reminiscent of kind of real estate of days past. But this is not the type of real estate that I practice. I'm not even sure this type of practice exists anymore. But I did think that was a very funny line because obviously if he's concerned with them checking with their attorney like that was a bad move as a salesperson, then obviously we're getting into that substandard investment territory. The continuing theme here is the leads. So Alec Baldwin's character is giving a lot of guff to the agents for complaining about the leads. And again, the only way that this kind of relates to current real estate practices is this is a very common situation for agents who are just reluctant or new or not experienced, that it always goes back to, yeah, I talked to them, but they really aren't that interested, or even just learning that cadence. A lot of times people contact us like way ahead of when they actually plan to buy or sell a house. Again, it was a wayward click or something, but they are someone who is essentially going to do it. And there's always this balance that we have to walk as agents in terms of getting back to the person that contacted me, letting them know I'm here. I like to coach it as I don't like to ask for anything. So I'm not going to say, hey, I need a commitment from you. Hey, I need you to sign this. I need you to do any of those types of things. I'm just saying, hey, I got your inquiry. I'm just following up with you and doing my due diligence. Here's my contact information when you need me. I'll check back in periodically. So you don't hear a whole lot of that going on here. So now I don't know, for me as a current practicing realtor in a pretty up and up version of this, I'm not doing anything like this, but you have to wonder if these guys are taking that stance that, no, these leads are shit, I called them, they don't want to buy a house. But maybe the people on the other end are just, appeasing them and saying, oh, we're not really interested right now, because they still have the contact info. They can call back later when they decide it is time to buy a house. So, I don't think it's going to make a very captivating movie, but you have to ask the question if Ed Harris and Jack Lemmon, and later we'll see Al Pacino, who is the missing agent in this scene, Roma, say, listen, guys, you got to call back more than once, and you don't want to harass them, but you got to build a relationship, which is the name of the game in sales, is that nurture. There's a very common saying in real estate that, and I'm sure many other lines of work, but we say the fortune is in the follow-up. For me, that's an easy victory because basically all you're doing is making people know that you're available. Listen, if someone tells me to stop calling them, then I do. The amount of leads that I have and the size of my database and the amount of business I do, I'm not going to keep chasing leads. So it's very different because obviously they're talking about here, and they'll mention this again later, is they're only getting like 2 or 3 leads a day, and those leads are everything to them. And obviously they're not happy with the quality of those leads. But they don't talk about the nurture. So it would be interesting to be able to put yourself in the scene and ask these questions of these agents. Well, are you working these leads like over a long period of time? Do you have a database? Are you organized? Are you putting them on email campaigns and checking in with them periodically, sending them Christmas cards, all the things that we do that, I like to think I do out of just, abundance and trying to do good at my job of someone who is inherently going to purchase real estate. I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident that I am going to be a good agent for them. So that nurture to me feels good. And I can't tell you how many, transactions and lasting relationships I've gotten out of people that came to me reluctantly. So that's really the only question here as it relates to what we do. I think that this idea of this Alec Baldwin character being this like alpha male sales coach, consultant kind of thing is, I think, a very Hollywood version of what guys in this type of role do. Now, I'm not saying that these guys don't exist out there, but I've been in a few sales jobs. I mentioned earlier my Cutco knives. I had pretty serious sales training. Anyone who did a stint with Cutco, first of all, it actually was a really great experience for me. It gave me a lot of sales training that does definitely directly apply to real estate. And later on, I actually before that, I worked with Circuit City, the now defunct Circuit City, which was a lighter job, smaller sales, but you had to do things like sell long-term warranties and stuff like that, which is where you made most of your money. And actually, right after I left Circuit City, they actually stopped doing commission-based sales because it started to get a little sticky with, pushing products as opposed to, recommending great products. That wasn't necessarily my approach. I said, if you're going to buy a E-Machines computer, which were very popular back in the day, but also were not the greatest computers, you probably should buy a 3 or 4 warranty for $89. It's not a real hard decision. But that's not what these guys are doing. So they bring in this alpha sales consultant that is, I should have probably offered the disclaimer up front. There's a lot of strong language here that is no longer appropriate in 2022, but it is what it is. But he's definitely, pumping this, if you guys can't close these leads, it's all on you. He uses the AIDA, Attention, Interest, Decision, Action, which again is like a very exaggerated version of a sales cycle. That is not how most of us realtors do business, but it's, again, this kind of glamorized, well, I don't know if it's glamorous, but Hollywood version of how we do sales. And the idea of always be closing, and coffee is for closers. These are very popular in real estate circles. Like, people know this movie. I've referenced Coffee is for Closers before, and always gets, a few knowing smiles from people who know this movie, because it's, at this point, it's a joke. I mean, it's not, this is not how we do business. We don't look at it this way. We're not high-fiving in the office when we convert a lead or close a transaction. We're not using language like this. We don't have, I shouldn't say we don't have leaderboards. We do have leaderboards, but it's not so tied into our day-to-day operation like it is here. So, I think it is a very exaggerated version. But again, this was, this movie is very old, and maybe real estate was like this. I don't know. I've only been a real estate agent for 3 years. So, yeah, I just think it's very funny. Classic scenes. I mean, I believe this movie is like an AFI Top 100 movie. And, anyone who's seen this movie, this is the scene that everyone knows is Coffee is for Closers, and ABC Always Be Closing. It's referenced all the time in different sales fields as kind of a tongue-in-cheek reference to, like, going out and getting your business. So just a couple items there, and I'll stop talking, and we'll continue on with viewing the movie.
Are you man enough to take it?
This whole movie is obviously very locker room style.
What's the problem,
type
pal?
of sales.
You, boss. You're such a
This
hero.
is
You're
not
so
how
rich.
real estate
How
is
come you're
nowadays.
coming down here and waste your time with such a bunch of bums?
You see this watch? You see this watch?
Yeah.
That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you make? You see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing. Nice guy? I don't give a shit. Good father? Fuck you. Go home and play with your kids. You want to work here? Close. You think this is abuse? You think this is abuse, you cocksucker? You can't take this. How can you take the abuse you get on a sit? You don't like it? Leave. I can go out there tonight. The materials you got make myself $15,000. Tonight, in 2 hours, can you? Can you? Go and do likewise. AIDA. Get mad, you son of a bitches. Get mad. You know what it takes to sell real estate? It takes brass balls to sell real estate. Go and do likewise, gents. The money's out there. You pick it up, it's yours. You don't, I got no sympathy for you. You want to go out on those sits tonight and close, it's yours. Not, you're going to be shining my shoes. And you know what you'll be saying? Bunch of losers sitting around in a bar. Oh, yeah, I used to be a salesman. It's a tough racket. These are the new leads. These are the Glengarry leads. And to you, they're gold. And you don't get them. Why? Because to give them to you is just throwing them away. They're for closers. I wish you good luck, but you wouldn't know what to do with it if you got it. And to answer your question, pal, why am I here? I came here because Mitch and Murray asked me to. They asked me for a favor. I said, the real favor, follow my advice and fire your fucking ass, because a loser is a loser.
Bunch of fucking nonsense. Treat people like that.
All right. So, yeah, so you see the wrap up here of this sales consultant guess trying to get these guys' hair up in terms of being able to get the juice they need to close these leads. And the only other thing I want to reference here is there's a lot of mentions of the gentlemen who apparently own this brokerage. I don't even know if we can call this a brokerage, but let's just call it a brokerage for the sake of this conversation. Mitchell and Murray, they refer to them often throughout the movie. So the only thing that's kind of interesting here is you'll see the guys mention quite a bit about going across the street to talk to the competing brokerage or whatever these establishments are called. And this is interesting because a lot of agents that are kind of floating in the wind and haven't really established a great career, this is a question that comes up a lot, is are they with the right brokerage? And one of the common questions that we get when people are considering switching brokerages, an agent can come to me and say, hey, Craig, I was actually thinking about joining Keller Williams. Can you tell me a little bit about something? And a very common question I get is, how do they help you with leads? Are there office leads available? And if you're picking out a brokerage based on the leads that you're going to receive from the brokerage, that's probably a very misguided approach because, yeah, I mean, every office, I shouldn't say every, but most brokerages offer you some sort of in-house leads, and different offices have different systems for how these are provided, how they're distributed, where they come from, all of that. if this is a reason to seek out a brokerage, I think it's a flawed one, because you really, to be a successful real estate agent, is you really need to figure out a way that you're going to generate your own business. It's nice to get something from your brokerage that backs up what you're doing, but I just don't think that there's, as far as I'm aware of, any brokerage out there that this is why you want to be in that brokerage, because they're providing primo leads. If that was the case, I think people would be flocking to that brokerage. And like I said, every brokerage has some version of this, but it's certainly not enough to sustain a high producing real estate business. Maybe it gives you a little extra, baseline stuff that's provided by the office, but it usually comes at a cost of some sort. And I just don't think it's a great reason to find a brokerage. So I just wanted to mention that because they keep dangling this. Listen, if you guys can't sort this out, I'm going to go across the street to Jack so-and-so to join his brokerage. He's, obviously, whoever that is across the street has the primo leads in their view, which is kind of a grass is always greener situation, and similar conversation that I have with agents all the time. So again, kind of going back to this idea that it's the leads, it's not me, it's the leads. So anyone who's doing business in real estate has to work those phones and generate their own leads. A lot of agents stick to their sphere and then, former clients and everything. And that database just kind of continues to build out and become something that does sustain a business. I think the dream of every realtor is to work purely off of referral business, which is all of your friends and family and former clients are. Any conversation they have with anyone who's looking to buy or sell a house, they say, "Oh, you need to go talk to Craig. He's great, and he'll do you right. He worked with us, and he was fantastic, and I highly recommend him." All of us hope that's the only way that we get business. That's a free lead as far as we're concerned because we didn't pay for it. It's a result of prior work that we did that was great, and a personal referral is the best kind of lead you can get. So just a little kind of thing there. That's pretty much it. We'll move on.
You were saying?
Huh?
Come on. Come on, you got him in the kitchen. You're in your shirt sleeves. You got the stats spread out. You can smell it. Come on, snap out of it. You're eating a crumb cake.
Oh, yeah, I'm eating a crumb cake.
How was it?
It's from the store.
Fuck up.
Bruce, Harriet, what we have to do is admit to ourselves that we see that opportunity and take it, right? And that's it. Now, we just sit there. I got my pen out.
Always be closing.
Oh, God, that's what I've been saying the old ways, right? Convert that motherfucker, sell him, make him sign the check. Now, they got their money in government bonds. I said to myself, fuck it, let's go all the way, the whole route. I take it and plat it out. 8 units, 82 grand, and I say to them, this is now. This is that thing that you have been dreaming of. You are going to find the suitcase on the train. The man walks in the room. That bag is filled with money. Harriet, this is it. And Bruce, I don't want to fuck around with you. I don't. I don't want to pussyfoot around, huh? You think you got to look back on this thing? I do, too. Now, I'm here to do good for you and me, the both of us. What is the point of some interim position? The only arrangement that I will accept is full investment, and I mean it. That's it. All 8 units, period. Now, I got the pen in my hand, Rick. Hey, I turned that contract around. That's 8 units, 82 grand. And I said, now, I want you to sign. I sat there 5 minutes. And then I sat. 22 minutes by that kitchen clock on the wall. Ricky, not a word, not a motion. And what am I thinking? Is my arm getting tired? No, I did it. Just like the old days, like I used to, like I was taught, I did it.
Like you taught me.
Oh, hey, no, nobody ever did. Well, if I did, I'm glad. No, what I did, I locked on them. I locked all on them, nothing on me, on them. And oh, God, I am holding my last thought. Now is the time. Signed. That was great. It was so fucking great. It was like they wilted all at once. Mm-hmm. No gesture, nothing, just together. Honest to God. They both kind of imperceptibly slumped. And then he reached, he took the pen and he signed, passed it to her, and she signed. It was solemn, fucking solemn. I let it sit, you know. And then I nodded. I said, Harriet, Bruce. Then I pointed into the living room to the sideboard. I didn't know there was a fucking sideboard in there. He went over, he brought us back a drink. Little shot glasses, you know, with a pretty design in them, a little. And we just toasted in silence.
Great sale, Shelley. Great.
Fuck! Hand me out! Come on, give me leads. Williamson, hand me out!
The leads are coming.
Get them to me.
Yeah, I talked to Mitch and Murray an hour ago. They're coming in. You understand? They're a bit upset.
Did you tell
over
them my
this morning.
sale?
How could I tell them your sale? I didn't have a I'll tell them your sale when they bring in the leads, all right, Shelley? All right? We had a little... You closed the deal. You made a good sale for them.
Oh, better than a good sale.
Look, I have a lot of things on my mind. You understand? They're coming in. They're very upset. I'm trying to make...
All I'm telling you is you can tell them it was a remarkable good sale.
Yeah, the only thing remarkable about it is who you made it to.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that if the sale sticks, it'll be a miracle.
If the sales, well, why shouldn't the sales? Oh, fuck you. That's you do not know your job. Do you know that? A man is his job. You are fucked at yours. You hear what I'm saying to you? Your end of the month, fucking boy. You do not know how to run this office. You haven't got the sense. You haven't got the balls. Have you ever been on a sit? Has this cocksucker ever been on a sit? Did you ever sit with a customer?
Calm down.
Oh, would you? Oh my God! What are you going to do? Fire me? Oh, Rick. Oh.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
Oh, really? On an $80,000 day? And what? It's not even noon yet.
You closed them today?
Oh, I got up early this morning, I tracked him down, and I closed it. What I'm saying to you is that things change, and that's where you fuck up, because you don't know. You can't look back. You don't see who's coming. Maybe it's someone new, huh? Maybe it's someone else, but you don't know. You can't look back because you don't know your history. When we were on Rio Rancho, who was the top man, huh? For what, 2 months, 3 months? How about 8 months for 3 years in a row, huh? And on what, luck? Was that it, John? Or purloined fucking leads? It was talent.
Yes.
Door to door. It's called cold calling, John. Shit, I don't even know their name. They don't want to buy what I've got. Soft sell shit. We were doing it before we even had a name for it, am I right?
Right, you're right, Shell.
You wouldn't know. You got... He says he doesn't even know what a streak is. What the hell are you? You're a fucking secretary. Fuck you! Yeah, that's my message to you. Fuck you and kiss my ass. And if you don't like that, baby, I go across the street and I speak to Jerry Graff. Period. Fuck you. Now listen to me. You put me on that fucking board, and I want 3 promising leads for today, and I don't want any bullshit about them, and I want them close together, because I am going to close them all. And that's all I have to say to you.
He's right, Williamson.
I'm sorry, but it's wrong. And you know whose fault it is? Mitch and Murray.
All right. So I had to wrap this up with, we had to get a little Al Pacino in here because you can't do anything about this movie without including Mr. Pacino. So a couple little things in this scene. I jotted down some notes. So Al Pacino plays Roma, who, as you can see on that leaderboard they show throughout the movie, was the current month leader. Appears to be the successful one amongst them, whereas Jack Lemmon's character keeps referencing that he's hit a bad streak, but previously he was a very high producing realtor. He talks about seeing the opportunity and taking it. So again, this is a kind of a Hollywood version of anything that agents have to deal with, and this is really dealing with more selling properties, whereas I think the only time this kind of applies to real estate agents nowadays is more with getting listings. Is a lot of times they're competitive situations, especially in this market. I mean, listings are worth their weight in gold right now, so you can anticipate that any listing that comes up, you're probably going to be competing with a few other agents, and that would probably be the closest parallel here. But again, I don't think too many agents out there take this kind of kill 'em all approach to getting listings, but that would probably be the closest thing that we have. There's a lot of romanticizing here in Jack Lemmon's story about how he closed the deal, which I think is very funny because it's reminds me of my past sales days where we talk about how we closed a deal. Closing a deal in real estate nowadays is way more need-based. It's not these romanticized conversations about closing these units would probably be more akin to my past life selling steak knives. But in this case, you know, he likes to romanticize it, talk about, I like how they mentioned the crumb cake. And he said, "Oh, how was the crumb cake?" And he's like, "Store bought." I think that's a great little little line there with Jack Lemmon and Al Pacino. One thing that Kevin Spacey's character mentions is the only miracle here is who you sold it to, and it'll be a miracle if it sticks. That's interesting. It's something that we deal with a little bit in this market because, you know, the biggest thing that happens in this market is there's a lot of promises made when the offer is made. And we've seen over the past few years that some of those promises tend to get peeled back a little bit when we hit attorney review. I'll give you a very common example, which is waiving inspections. Very often the winning offer wins because they told us they were waiving inspections, which is great for sellers. Not necessarily advisable to buyers unless they have a lot of money and they kind of know what they're getting themselves into. But like, for example, first-time home buyers, me personally, I never recommend waiving home inspections. That's a tough one. You know, if they have contractors in their family, they're very confident that or the deal is so good. I mean, sure, maybe, but generally not advisable. So when we talk about sales not sticking in our field, we worry about two things. Number one is peeling back those offers that were made as part of the offer. Those promises start to get a little lighter as it hits the attorneys, because a lot of times the attorneys will go to their clients and say, "Hey, do you know what this means when you say you're going to waive home inspections?" The clients get a little nervous. They go back to their agent and say, "Hey, we're thinking maybe we don't want to waive inspections." But at that point, the offer has been accepted, and it might change the nature of their competitive offer. It might make someone else's offer now look a little more competitive if you take away that inspection waiver. So sales sticking applies to that. I mean, on the buy side, we have pre-approvals, we have proof of funds. So I think what Kevin Spacey's character is referencing is the financial viability of the deal. So I guess, you know, in this world, they don't get caught up in their due diligence so much as closing the sale and then just hoping it sticks. There's actually a scene later in the movie where Al Pacino's character, Roma, has one of his clients come in and try to get out of this sale, and he keeps referencing the there's a consumer law where he has 3 days to change his mind, and he's trying to reference that, and Al Pacino is really trying to appease him long enough to get outside that 3-day window, which is obviously an unethical practice and not something, again, that applies to today. But you can see how in this situation, these sales are obviously not necessarily going to stick, and that is something that Kevin Spacey is referencing, which probably in this world, it's something that they deal with quite a bit, but that's not really something that we deal with in our world. I mentioned earlier that they give Kevin Spacey a lot of guff about his lack of experience in the field, and they keep referencing a sit. Have you ever been on a sit? Jack Lemmon asks Kevin Spacey. So a sit sounds to me like he's going to sit with people to tell him about the investment property and potentially sell it to him. Again, I would probably draw the closest comparison to current real estate of listing appointments. You know, we're going to someone's house to try and get them to do business with us by listing their home. Very different, obviously, but you know, in terms of what closing sales and, you know, getting people to sign on the dotted line and stuff like that, I guess listing presentations would be our closest parallel there. But that's essentially it. You know, as I was watching this, I'm like, well, this really isn't all that pertinent to real estate today, but I do still think that there's some fun. It's fun to look back on something, a very different model, a very different landscape. I mean, real estate is constantly being changed with different regulations and different National Association of Realtors have different rules that come out, and there's federal rules, and you know, we've had a major housing crisis since this movie was filmed. I mean, there's all sorts of changes, and this is obviously something very different. But regardless, it's an iconic movie. It is about real estate, so I thought it would be semi-interesting to kind of put a little perspective on it. Look back at a time when, you know, things were very, very different. This is like the Wild West of real estate that they're talking about here, and you know, the performance performances by the actors in this. It's definitely worth checking out the movie if you haven't. If you're in any sales field, I mean, this is definitely going to get a few smiles out of you of like this Hollywood version of what it is that we do. So hope you enjoyed the video. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions or anything, or any other, famous scenes or movies or anything else you'd like me to do, I'm happy to just do scenes, because these movies take quite a bit of time. I essentially had to watch a 2-hour movie and chop it up, and it takes a lot of time. So if there's famous scenes or anything, I have a few in mind that I'll probably be doing. But hit me up in the comments and tell me what would be some good examples of things that we could comment on. I know that like I Love You Man is a great one. There's multiple open houses, and there's some very funny scenes there, which I think are a little more pertinent to today. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. As always, appreciate any comments, likes, subscribes, and stay tuned for more of these. And I hope everyone's doing well out there. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.